Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to be talking about Andrew Yang and whether he should use dog whistling in the 2020 U.S. primary presidential race. All right, so let's talk about it. All right, what is dog whistling? So dog whistling is specifically a political tool, right? It is used a little beyond politics, but politicians use it in ways that no other industry uses it. And it has a long history in politics, right? All right, so what is dog whistling? Dog whistling is when you use coded language to say a bunch of words that have either a bland or broad meaning to most people, but will mean really specific things to a subset of your audience, okay? Now, I'm going to give an example of dog whistling, but I want to make it super clear. Dog whistling has a horrific history in politics, right? Dog whistling is almost always in politics used for bad reasons, okay? Basically, a lot of really sketchy communication has been done with dog whistling in the past, and it's not been used for good things in the past, right? Now, I'm not going to bury the lead here. I'm saying that, yes, Andrew Yang absolutely should use dog whistling, and I'm going to explain why. So, one, why should Andrew Yang use this tool that's previously in the past been used for frankly, evil, right? Well, several reasons. Reason number one, tools are not inherently evil. How tools are used is inherently evil, all right? That there are a few exceptions, but at the principal level, at the macro level, at the general level, tools are not inherently evil. It's how they're used that is evil. That's reason number one. Reason number two is Meryl Streep, all right? So we're going to talk about Meryl Streep right now, all right? So, and dog whistling, all right? So, and this is the genesis of this entire topic, all right? So I saw a movie by the name of The River Wild. I watched it on Netflix, which, you know, everybody's got Netflix. Like, it's really, it's almost ubiquitous at this point, right? The possum under my porch watches Netflix, man. I love Netflix. I'm a huge fan. And I found this movie that I had never seen before. It's called The River Wild, and it stars Meryl Streep and Kevin Bacon. Fantastic movie, all right? Meryl Streep plays a mother in a family. She has a husband named Tom. Her name is Gail, and her son's name is Rourke, okay? Kevin Bacon plays a criminal, and he has a friend, another criminal friend named Tom, okay? So this movie is about a family, Gail, Tom, and Rourke, right? Gail is the wife, Tom is the husband, and Rourke is Gail and Tom. Right? Yeah, sorry. What was the husband's name again? I'm sorry. Wade and Tom are the two criminals, and then Gail and Rourke and the husband. Sorry, they're the family. And basically, Gail is a river guide, is really good at rowing, and she previously served as a river guide. This whole movie is about going downstream whitewater rafting. Okay, it's a really interesting film. And basically, the story is Gail is this riverboat guide, or I'm sorry, a river rafting guide, and these two criminals try to use her to essentially make her the getaway driver, right? And the whole film is about how this small family is going to escape from these two criminals, right? And basically, these two criminals make it very clear that they kill multiple people in the film, and they're dragging Gail and her friend Gail. They're dragging Gail and Rourke, right, and her husband down the river, and basically, you know, they're very specifically forcing them to do what they need. You know, Wade and Tom, these two criminals, right? So Gail is in a lot of trouble, right? And there's this point where Gail's husband, excuse me, Gail's husband escapes the group and now is separated from Gail and her son Rourke. And her husband, at this point, he's traveling alongside the river, and Gail is doing everything she can to put the criminals in danger and keep herself and her son safe, right? And at this point, Gail and Rourke don't know that her husband has escaped the two criminals and is traveling alongside them, right? So her husband sent dog whistles to Rourke and Gail, right? Now, what the husband does is he takes a log up on a high cliff and he puts ASL, American Sign Language, symbols that you make with your hands, and he puts 3 symbols on this log that say, Gail, watch out, right? And basically, the importance of this is, one, the dog whistling is Gail, Rourke, and husband, they can all speak ASL because Gail's mother is deaf, okay? But Wade and Tom, the criminals, cannot speak ASL. So even if they see these hand symbols that are drawn in ash on a log high up on this bluff, they won't be able to read it. And that is dog whistling. Using a language that a subset, so the husband knows that Gail, Rourke, Wade, and Tom, the family and the criminals, will see the message, right? It's all right out in the open, right? But the reality is only Gail and Rourke understand what the symbols mean, right? Wade and Tom are ignorant. That's dog whistling. That is number 1, dog whistling. That is exactly what it is, okay? So at this point, right, what I'm saying is that dog whistling absolutely should be used by Andrew Yang, right? Now, and the reason why is basically there's messages he needs to get across to a subset of the audience, but the rest of the audience really doesn't, it's not going to help if they hear the message, right? Now, so basically, here's the other issue is, essentially my point, right, and there have been others that have made this point as well, is that, a method is not inherently evil, specifically if it doesn't harm certain people, right? So the message that Andrew Yang chooses is not going to be harmful to certain people. It's simply going to resonate at a higher frequency with one subset of the group, okay? Now, who should that be, right? Now, basically, I believe that Andrew Yang should begin dog whispering to evangelical Christians, right? Now, why is that, right? Well, it's really important, and here's why, okay? It is my opinion that evangelical Christians are the key to this election, okay? And the reason why is lock, stock, and barrel, the vast majority of voters are going to vote exactly the same way they did in the last election, right? You're going to have the Dems show up for the Dems. Whoever the Dem candidate is, you're going to have the Republicans show up for the Republican candidates. And of course, that's going to be Donald Trump, right? And the reality is there's going to be very little change, right? But the reason why the evangelical Christians they are the absolute key to winning this election, especially, of course, specifically the general, right? But I do think Andrew Yang should start dog whispering to evangelical Christians now, right? And I'll give the reasons for that are, one, Andrew Yang is essentially done with the primary, right? Going forward, he should just assume that he's going to win, because he will. He really doesn't need to beat any other candidates. He just needs to remain standing, right? The biggest candidates are beating themselves. That's already happening, okay? All right, so here's what he's got to do, right? He's got to start dog whispering to evangelicals in the primaries. So one, their ears perk up and they start listening, and that he can fully kick this in when we hit the general. Now, why is it so important that he dog whispers to evangelical Christians, right? Well, one, if he dog whispers to evangelical Christians, he can have a conversation with them that is uninterrupted by the media. This is absolutely critical, right? We just saw a very, very important lesson in the debate night 2, where Kamala Harris absolutely lambasted Joe Biden using Donald Trump style attack politics, and then the media utterly rewarded her with tons and tons and tons of coverage, right? Which turned into poll numbers, right? So debate night 2 proved to us that the media learned absolutely nothing in 2016. And the reason why is, I don't think the media at the macro level has the ability to learn anything. They're like a dog, right? you could train a dog, right? But if somebody comes into your house again and again and again, and that person is feeding this dog sausage bits every time it comes in, that's where the media is at. Like, they're the dog with the sausage bits. They can't help themselves, right? They cannot help but reward a tactile politics. We've seen this, right? And the reality is, anything that gets ratings, you could just lead the media around. Like, they have a ring in their nose, and you could just like a bull, and you could just yank that ring wherever you want, right? If you know how to do it. Trump knows how to do it, right? So the thing is, Andrew Yang has to have a conversation with evangelical Christians, and I'll tell you a reason why in one moment. But he has to have that conversation uninterrupted by the media, right? And the media is incredibly ignorant of evangelical Christians, right? At the macro level. There's a whole lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into them right here, but like it just based on their fundamental nature, they have an incredibly difficult time understanding evangelical Christians, right? So that's the reason why is Andrew Yang has to have this conversation with evangelical Christians, and it has to be uninterrupted by the media, and dog whistling is absolutely the best way to do that, okay? Now, why evangelicals? Here's why, okay? Trump delivered the number one thing that evangelical Christians wanted from Trump. He delivered, and that was judges, right? Evangelical Christians flocked to Trump because he promised he would choose his judges from a conservative list. He kept that promise, right? So evangelicals throughout evangelical churches, not from the pulpit, but definitely churchgoer to churchgoer through the pews, this just radiated out. They were like, if we elect Trump, we get the judges we want, right? But then the same conversation in those evangelical churches, in the pews, not from the pulpit. It's important to understand that. Evangelical Christians do not endorse from the pulpit. They endorse one-to-one in the pews, right? All right. And so basically, the evangelicals said, hey, Trump will deliver judges. But then a lot of other evangelicals go like, wait a second. We're evangelical Christians. This guy is twice divorced. This guy's had 3 wives, right? And he's made his money in gambling, right? How can we go along with this, right? Well, what many evangelicals did was they held their nose, right? And they're like, just hold your nose, do the vote. Let's get the judges, right? Now, why are those same voters up for grabs right now in this primary and in this election? And in this, and in the general, right? Well, the reason why is Donald Trump. The evangelicals were already holding their nose when they voted for him. By the way, I did not vote for Trump. I did a write-in in Pennsylvania, and so basically, the reason why is he has turned out to be an utter nightmare. Right? He curses constantly. He is uncivil. He is prideful. He is rude, and he is selfish. Right? And evangelical Christians have had 4 years of being reminded of this. And they're like, you know what? We made a Faustian bargain, and now we got to fix this, right? So the reality is evangelical Christians are absolutely the key to winning this election. They are the key to beating Trump, right? And Andrew Yang can lay a groundwork right now in the primaries to absolutely wreck Donald Trump in his weakest block. His absolute weakest voting block, right? So it's really important that Andrew Yang seizes this opportunity, dog whispers to evangelicals, right, and lays out the groundwork for why they should vote for him. So, should dog whistling be used by Andrew Yang? Yes. Who should he dog whisper to? Evangelical Christians. Why should he dog whisper to evangelical Christians? Because they are ripe for the plucking right out of Trump's voter base. They're very, very ripe. And if you know how to talk to them, you can absolutely get their votes, right? And snap them off of Trump. It's very, very simple. And I absolutely think this is the best possible way to go. And it's a really solid way to defeat Trump, right? It's just a really sound move forward. So that's, now, of course, all of that is my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. I am 100% aware that dog whistling has been used for some horrific things in the past. I trust Andrew Yang. I know he has discretion. I know he has wisdom. And I know he can use, a very sharp blade to get some tasks done. Because that's exactly what, dog whispering is. It's a sharp blade, right? And frankly, if you don't know what you're doing, you can chop your fingers off. But if you do know what you're doing, you could save lives with a sharp blade. So that's why I trust Andrew Yang with it. Again, that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.